Grand Rising, Grand Rising. Mike, good, everything good, man. Hopefully, everybody had an amazing weekend. An amazing weekend. This was an amazing weekend for me. This was definitely an amazing weekend for me. This is the first time in a while that I've started off on such a high frequency on a Monday. I'm gonna be real with y'all, man. I'm excited. I'm excited about a lot of stuff. Most importantly, which is what we'll start off the show with today, is focusing on my brother's book, man. My brother Danye Kamal, he wrote a book with Jasmine New, his homegirl, and it's I don't know. As a matter of fact, yeah, and it's you ever had that feeling? You remember that feeling when you first read the book, The Secret? When you felt like, yo, you've had everything figured out, you got the key to the world in your hands, and now you could just create whatever it is that you. This is that feeling. So I'm going to share a couple different things with y'all from the book, but first and foremost, we'll get into what we always get into. I know we got some wise words from our big bros in the building. Shout out to Big Bro. Oh, dang, y'all in the chat heavy. I love this. So make sure that you're liking as you are joining. Make sure that you like as you're joining. Why is there a glare? I don't think it's the front part of the camera. I think it's the back. But maybe. I don't know. In case y'all haven't noticed, my old camera, it's in the shop a little bit. So I'm repairing this. So I'm using a different camera, but it is what it is. The show must go on. So like I was saying, we got some wise words from our big bros. Shout out to Finn. True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. Yo, Finn, get out my life, man. And when I say get out my life, I mean stay in my life, because literally one of the main focuses that we're going to touch on in this reading is called Get Happy First. I had my little hair. Yeah, I had my hair tie in there to save my place, because that's what we're getting ready to discuss. True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. And then the next part is about detachment. This is like, all right, we're on the same page. We're on the same page. And just a heads up for y'all, this was in some ways one of the hardest shows to prepare for. And the shows have been very hard to prepare for over the last couple of weeks. And I think that's what drove me to just kind of, scale back a little bit, amongst other things. But just to kind of figure out what's going to be this next push, what's going to be the direction that we're moving towards. Because when it just comes down to society, I don't see any positive or positivity, maybe I should say, coming from us just focusing on all the craziness that's going on. That's the toughest part, because as we read these books, as we understand, and Mama Lay says this all the time, and I'm going to get to the comments too. I'm going to catch up with everything, but I want to just lay the groundwork, set the foundation. As Mama Lay always tells me, what you focus on grows. And that's always the challenge that I have with having these discussions with y'all on this show about some of the things that are happening, whether it's politics, whether it's religion, or just overall culture, the things that are going on in society. One of the biggest struggles is we're focusing on these terrible things. So it's almost like we're just feeding in to what society wants us to feed into. Now, we may say that we're giving an opinion that's different than most and approaching it from a different, vantage point, whatever. But is that actually working to solve the issue? It's like we need a hard left turn, and like we're going straight, you know what I'm saying? Or we're just veering over a little bit. We need a hard left turn. That's what it feels like a lot of times. So when I'm always preparing stuff for the show, it's like Israel. Trump messed up. Trump did something. All right, boom, Israel. Iran, terrorists. Okay. It's always the same thing. Religion, Christianity, Jewish. It's always the same exact things that I'm going through. So what challenges us helps us grow. So let me get back to you guys, and I'll make sure that I'm catching up with all the comments. Do not let the noise of the world drown out the rule of your own reason. Do not let the noise of the world drown out the rule of your own reason. The Honorable Marcus Aurelius. And just so y'all are aware, the first one was from Seneca. Yeah, we've been on Seneca too. And you know Marcus Aurelius, that's a staple. So shout out to Big Bro Steve in the building. Good morning, afternoon, all. Going to be a great day. What's on your agenda today that promotes us being the change we want to see in the world? Y'all, this is why y'all call y'all big bros. What's on our agenda today that promotes us being the change we want to see in the world? Man. Wow. Hey, brother Dak. Hope you and Maya are doing well. All is well. We had a great weekend. I'm excited. I'm optimistic. The reality they are engineering is both gay and fake. I would say disconnect, but I'm reminded of Plato's words. The price good men pay for indifference to public affairs is to be ruled by evil men. And that's always the challenge. That's always the challenge. The price good men pay for indifference to public affairs is to be ruled by evil men. And when I say that that's always the challenge is because how do you sit back and see certain things that are going on, chaos? You see certain people that are just promoting or falling victim maybe to the BS that we see in society. How do you just look at people just drowning in the water while you're on the yacht reading your book and just like, oh, okay. Maybe they're waving to me. Like, do we convince ourselves that they're waving while they're screaming for help? Like, oh yeah, hey, you know what I mean? So that is that's a real struggle. And I think maybe this is why I'm optimistic, because I think I think we have a solution. And it's combining a lot of the things that we've discussed in the past, even with Professor Zhang, when he says that the most revolutionary thing that we can do is to what? Read a book. I think this battle that we need to fight, it's almost like we've been trying to fight maybe fire with fire and not realizing like, yo, just throw one of those little fire blankets over that. You know what I'm saying? Or we need to throw some water on that. We need to figure it out. We've been flaming the fire in some ways. I don't know. And next week we may pivot. But right now, this is kind of just, I want to have this convo with y'all, unpack this lane that I'm seeing us moving in, and get your opinion on it. So shout out to Bubbles in the building. Morning, everyone. Hope all is well. Bubbles in the building. Shout out to Michelle. Peace and love, of course. Hope the family is well, Michelle. Wise words, my friend. I submit that if we are able to reclaim control of our minds and emotions by disconnecting from the propaganda, then we can fully engage on becoming that change. That's where I'm seeing it. That's where I'm seeing it for sure. Like, what's the strategy? Like, we may not be able to fight their fight. You know what I mean? Like, because obviously you control the media, right? Like, we can grow and get to a point where we have a huge influence. However, maybe there's some ways that we can combat a lot of the things that they're doing, and get people on board with a different type of movement. So let's keep it moving. Make sure that I got everybody. I know y'all already liked as y'all were coming in. But if you haven't, make sure that you like. Good morning, podcast. Finally here with you. Phyllis in the building. Yeah. I love it, Phyllis. Hope all is well. Shout out to Mama Lay in the building. Whatever you focus on grows. It's important to be aware of this. Got to ask yourself, what are you energizing? We cannot take thoughts for granted. They're powerful. All right, we're on the same. I can't wait to open this book for y'all, because we are going to enjoy going through just a few different pages in this book. Everybody's in the building. The system intends to keep us distracted, so our focus is on the chaos, which actually keeps it thriving. Yeah. All right, so let's get into it. Let's get into what I was picking up over this weekend and what got me so optimistic. All right, so this is my bro, Danye Kamal. I actually played, he is my teammate on the Colts. And what's funny about it is, so Danye plays safety, and then probably the closest people that I am to, or the closest people that I still am close to on the team, all played my position, but two in particular, my bro Danye and Mike, those were the people that I was competing against. Those were the ones that came in the same time as me. And we were all competing against each other for like, hopefully one spot. And it ended up working out because, we're lifelong friends now, brothers. But it's just interesting. It's interesting the respect that you gain from certain people that you compete with and how that can lead to friendship or connection in other areas. But especially as I'm going along this path, this journey, life, we all are. I'm over here reading Danye's book that I've had in my possession probably for about a year now. It's crazy to say that, a year. And I've read a little bit of it, but didn't really. And every time I picked it up, I'd read a page and be like, yo, damn, this is good. But for whatever reason, I get distracted. So as I'm going through certain things, and even I was talking to Maya about it, like, yo, all these things that I've been talking to you about, maybe talking to y'all about on the show, Danye is expressing the same struggle in a lot of these things, from how he looked at religion to growing up to business and trying to create generational wealth and being stressed out from certain aspects of that. Ye was living the same things. And I'm like, yo, how are we? And we'll talk about certain things because he's the type that there's probably not a book that y'all will name that he hasn't read. And he's just a very studious explorer. He's written multiple books. So yeah, let me get into it. All right. So this particular part, this is about habits. So I just want to start off. They're talking about the 4 steps of creation. And I'm going to bounce around a little bit. So just kind of stay with me. The first one, I'm just going to set the tone on what they're discussing in the book. But this one in particular, when you are trying to change your habits and ultimately change your life, you must know who you really are and who you are trying to become. If you are not sure of yourself, then you could easily be persuaded to become the person you used to be. It all goes back to discipline. Discipline is just knowing who you really are. If you see someone lacking discipline, you could assume they don't know who they really are. And this was just to give a little context, set the tone, and then we're going to get into more of the heavier conversations. All right. So if I may, just want to make sure I'm starting on the right one. Hold up. All right. So take a listen to this. So this is the second step of creation. So just so y'all are aware, the deliberate creator, and these are conversations that we've talked about, but we create our own reality. Think about some of the conversations that we've had, some of the quotes that Steve and Finn have put up about our thoughts turn into our reality. So the reality that we're all living in, regardless of whether we love it, we hate it, we're indifferent on it, we've created all those things. We program our subconscious to put energy out to the world, and then that's what comes back as our reality. So that could be seen as a negative, and all you have to do is kind of look at the situation that we're in right now. Think about how we started off the show talking about like, yo, it's hard to find a topic on anything other than something negative, complaining about this, complaining about that. Oh, we're going to war. And you have conversations with people and you listen to the things that they're complaining about, the things that they're experiencing. And it makes it very obvious that, like the same things that are occurring in our thoughts are actually playing out in reality. Now, we may frame it in a way where we think that, we're just responding to the things that they're doing. But if we're responding to the things that mainstream media or anybody else is putting out, just think about how easy it is to control an entire society, and how much easier it even was to control a society when there were only 2 or 3 TV channels. Think about it from that standpoint. Everybody's watching the same thing, consuming the same information, and it's the same thing right now. These media companies, they're putting out certain things that are going to trigger a response. It's going to usually trigger us one way, another way, right? It's polarizing. So it's all the way over here. It's all the way over here. And then there's people that I guess just say, you know what? I'm not even worried about it. I'm just going to disconnect. Now, that disconnect, going back to what Finn said, you disconnect, but you're also not helping to solve the problem. So then what do we end up having usually? Polarizing sides of the spectrum. So therefore, we understand maybe how we can contribute to causing a lot of these things that we see in society, but I don't think a lot of us really understand how to switch it and to move it in a more positive direction. So this is why I'm excited to learn more about this. So let's discuss the second step of creation. This is the section where traditionally one would tell you that you need to have faith. But I'd like to approach this section a tad bit differently. This section is not about faith, it is about knowing. To me, faith is more about believing in that which you can't prove or are not certain of. That is why faith doesn't fit into this equation. I love Nipsey Hussle, rest in peace, Nip, man. I love Nipsey Hussle's references to the topic when he stated that one doesn't have faith in the ground. When you walk on it, you just know it will stand firm. One more time. When he stated that one doesn't have faith in the ground, when you walk on it, you just know it will stand firm. It's no different than if I told you the sun is out at 2 p.m., you wouldn't have faith in that. You would just know it to be true. Can you imagine having that level of knowing as it pertains to the power that you possess to create life exactly the way you desire? Having that level of knowing is a frequency that places you in tune with the energy that creates worlds. It reminds me of a story from the Holy Scriptures that details an account where Jesus healed two different individuals after the healing. So let's pause there for a second before we get into that story, because we'll read the scripture too. But before we get into that story, I want us to focus on what Nip said. And this is something that we've spoken about a lot of times. There's no belief, there's no faith when it comes to accomplishing certain things that we want to accomplish. Like, we have to just move it to a position of knowing in our brain. I know that this is going to happen. And this is the same concept that Napoleon Hill talks about with autosuggestion. The more we can program our subconscious, then we move from a place of having faith or believing or hoping to knowing and expecting. And when we know, then we start expecting certain results that are going to come our way. And I'm not sure if they touch on it in this book or if I saw it somewhere else, but typically the things that we expect to happen, those things happen. It goes back to, what's the saying? Whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. A lot of times it works just like that. All right, so let's move on to this biblical story. So having that level of knowing is a frequency that places you in tune with the energy that creates worlds. It reminds me of a story from the Holy Scriptures that details an account where Jesus healed two different individuals. After that healing took place, Jesus told one of the individuals to go forth and tell no one, and told the other individual to go forth and tell everyone. The reason that Jesus gave two different instructions to the two individuals is because he understood that one of the individuals was in a place of knowing and the other was not. The individual who was in a place of knowing was certain of what he had experienced and witnessed. Jesus knew that when he spoke about what he had experienced, he would be challenged. He knew that when he stepped back into those rooms where fear and doubt dominated the room, it wouldn't matter because his calibration was secure. He could not be persuaded to veer away from the state of knowing that he was in. The other individual who was not in a place of knowing, Jesus told him to tell no one because he knew that he didn't have the mental capacity to stand firm once he was challenged. He was still in a place of uncertainty after all he had witnessed. Jesus knew that once the individual was back in those rooms where fear and doubt dominated, it would reactivate with him. Fear and doubt. Fear and doubt. And I'm not going to go into the section of this book where they're talking about fear and doubt, but one thing that I do want to share is that fear and doubt brings out the lower vibrations. It has us on that lower vibrational plane. Think about all the times that we fear and doubt something. Fear and doubt causes sickness. It causes us to feed the things that Mama Lay was talking about, that we're focusing on so much. The things that we fear so much, they end up actually coming true because we're putting that energy out to the universe where the universe can't decipher between, oh no, they fear that, so therefore that's something that they don't want. No, the energy just reads it as, oh, that's what they're focusing on. Okay, so boom, that's what we'll deliver on. And that's what ends up happening in a lot of ways. Now, people may not think about it like that, but maybe just take the time to think about in your life the things that you feared compared to when you've been confident in knowing something's going to happen. Because the fear can turn into a knowing in a negative, right? I fear something so much that I know that this is going to happen. I know that this is going to happen. Like I fear it. I'm building it. Now I'm putting that energy out to create that. So we're in that when we're in that low vibrational state, we're going to attract, obviously, right? Low vibrational things. So we're going to attract largely a lot of the negative things that we don't want to come to fruition in our life, but we're actively causing it and creating it, which is why when we start off the show, I said, whether we love our life, whether we hate our life, or whether we're indifferent, we're responsible for the life that we're creating. And a lot of people may not want to take and accept that responsibility, but the beauty of accepting that responsibility, no matter where we are in life right now, is that we have the ability to change. We have the ability to shape this sculpture that is our life in whatever way we are able to commit to. So let's move on to the next part. This is what I was talking about with Big Bro Finn about happiness, because happiness is something that I've had a very strange relationship with. When you just think about happiness, and perhaps a lot of men specifically are this way as well. We talk a lot about purpose. We talk a lot about goals. We talk a lot about, needing to make money, being able to protect and provide. We very rarely talk about happiness when it comes to men because well, I'm not going to say why, because, but for me, from my perspective, I think a lot of it is us avoiding maybe we're not supposed to be as emotional. We're not supposed to be these things. But the more I learn about happiness and the more I actually just tap into, what actually my feelings as far as like what makes me feel good, like that's a logical thing. Like it is very logical to want to do the things in this life that bring you happiness. It is very logical because then when we take a step back and we ask ourselves, well, what's the point of even having all the goals? Okay, it's a purpose. Okay, purpose to save humanity and achieve the greater peace. I get that aspect of it, right? But why do we want to achieve the greater peace? And let's move into a different category, because obviously all of our goals are not just based on achieving the greater peace. I can tell you all my goals are not just greater peace. I look out at Star Island every time I'm looking out of off my balcony, and I'm like, yeah, that's the goal. Like the crib, the car. When I'm during the day, when I have YouTube on in the background, shout out to Enos, his YouTube channel. My guy Enos, he's going through touring all these $50 million homes, 40 million. Now, it just makes me happy. Like, why not? Like, what do you mean? Y'all don't see this? You don't see amazing lives that people are living, or that you could envision in your own mind and say, like, yo, that'd be dope. Imagine that could be my parents' crib. This could be, oh my God, Maya will be driving in that car. I'm gonna be like, Justin, Fran, like those are the things that go through my mind. I start visualizing it and it makes me happy. It makes me happy. So a lot of times we'll have certain goals, whether it's tangible or non-tangible. And a lot of those goals are just based on the fact that ultimately when we get there, it's going to make us happy. So whether we say that it's something else or we're chasing whatever, I'm just talking about from my perspective. Happiness is something that's real. And I've told y'all before, like, yo, it ain't about happiness as a man. You got to just stand on certain things. And to be totally real, and maybe this is where there's an adjustment when it comes to men. Largely, I think our happiness is driven from our purpose. I really do believe that. So if you, and this may be the same thing from a lady's perspective. I'll let the ladies speak from their perspective. But when it comes to a man, when I think about the things that I want to accomplish, it is about protection. It is about providing. It is about putting myself in a position where I can lead, in whatever role that is that I'm playing. It is about those things, and those things do make me happy when I'm able to provide those things. So perhaps it's maybe a different role specifically that the man may play compared to the woman playing, but ultimately it's still purpose driven. So it's still purpose driven, but I think when we remove that happiness quality, then it's like we're not properly on that higher frequency, inviting the energy that's going to then provide opportunities for us to lean into our purpose, if that makes sense. Like if we're just focusing on the purpose and we're angry all day, then we're still going to be at that low vibration, even though our purpose, to truly fulfill our purpose and live in our purpose and strive for that purposeful abundance that we always reach for, that's at the high frequency. So there's nothing there's nothing that says, yo, miserable people accomplish goals more than happy people. Matter of fact, the people that I envy are the people that are stress-free. You know, something may happen to them where I'll be pulling out my hair, and for them it's like, oh, you know, we figure it out. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a superhero right there. That is a superhero quality. That's how I look at it. Like people that are able to go through certain things and still just be smiling and happy. Think about from a literal superstar in sports that we think about at the end of the game. The person that's not nervous, the person that's relaxed. And I'm like, yo, they realize that the game's on the line. Like, yo, they just, like, I'm stressed. Like, you know what I mean? And certain people just have that quality. Like, yo, man, give me the ball, man. I'm about to make something happen. Like, yo, watch this. Give me the rock. Give me the ball and watch what happens. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes when we're at our best, we're able to lean into those qualities, in my opinion. But let me get back to the book and let me not go off on too much of a tangent. So it says, get happy first. Another way to quickly raise your vibrational frequency and ultimately change your dominant vibration is by choosing happiness. Happiness is high vibrational. In my opinion, happiness is the key to receiving all that you desire. Our Creator is so magnificent that it designed an entire universe that serves as a system that allows us to create life exactly the way we desire. Excuse me. Sniffles. My mom's going to text me and my dad's going to text me, are you sick? Like, you need a little, I'm like, I just got the sniffles, relax. To live life exactly the way we want, the only thing our Creator asks in return is that we be happy. That's the agreement. That's pure love and divine wisdom. We must wake up every single day and immediately seek happiness, regardless of the circumstances and conditions. It's not easy. You will have to work at it consistently. It's an art that takes practice, but it is without a doubt the most important component to manifesting the life you desire. We were conditioned as children to believe we are supposed to go out into the world and find happiness. We are supposed to find happiness once we have our dream job, make the money we want to make, achieve our idea of success, meet our soulmates, etc. In reality, the happiness is in you already, and you must choose it then. You must choose it, then do the work every day to stay happy. When you do, then you will have everything you desire. Also, you won't have to go looking for that in which you desire. It will come right to you, as you will be attracting it. So don't expect happiness as an outcome of any circumstance. Find a way to get happy, and the circumstances you desire will be attracted to you. I know that may seem easier said than done, but think about it. Even if we talked about this before, or maybe matter of fact, I think I put up a post about this last week. Think about it from this standpoint. We're on a roller coaster, right? Life is a roller coaster. And think about when we're at the top. A lot of times when we're at the top, or let's think about it from this. I think it's easier to start with the bottom. When we're at the bottom and we're looking up, and we're like, yo, it must be amazing to live in that penthouse, to live on the house on the hill. Like, it must be amazing to have all these things. It must be amazing, right? And then when we get to that position, hopefully, right? All you got to do is talk to some of the people that may have gotten to these high positions in various areas. And what do they appreciate? You know, you accomplish a certain goal. You make it to the NFL, right? And you're looking back and you start to appreciate, yo, you know what? I'm searching for, when I first started playing, when I was 9, 10 years old, that type of happiness, that's what I miss. So you start missing the other stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you start saying stuff like, oh man, like, it's just a job now. What, bro? The dream was to make it a job. The dream was to get paid off of this. That was the goal. But then when you get there, it's like, dang, man, this is just a job. It used to just make me happy. I used to just do this with my boys because I was happy. So it's like, wherever you are on the roller coaster,
of life, you're going to appreciate different aspects of it. You're at the bottom, you start to appreciate the top and miss the top, right? You're at the top, you start to appreciate those things. So instead of being miserable or upset at any point, whether you're at the top, the bottom, or the middle, we might as well just appreciate wherever we're at. Because when we're not there, we're going to appreciate it. So just appreciate it in the moment. And that's what I think that he's talking about when he means as far as choosing happiness. Choosing happiness. Finn sent a quote the other day. I think it was Finn that was talking about was it Steve? One of the big bros. They regarding treat every day like it's a new life. Like we have the opportunity. Another one of my big bros, Jim Dory, he always used to remind me. He says he puts a smile on his face before his feet hit the bed every day. I mean, before his feet hit the floor every day when he's waking up. That's the mindset that we got to have. Because whether stuff is good or bad, let's say that things are bad. All right, well, it's looking up. We get the opportunity now to correct this. We get the opportunity now to move things in a better place, to have stuff better today than it was yesterday. So either way, happiness should still be what's leading us. And you inspire others when you're happier. And you bring better energy to everybody else. So like I said, I'm more so talking to myself where I never, or not to say never, but for a very long time, happiness was not in my ingredients, in this meal that I was cooking up. It wasn't one of the main ingredients. I thought it was just something that I could just experience maybe after I actually ate the meal. But I think what Danye's saying is, to actually have the best meal, you got to be happy while you're cooking. You don't want an angry chef in the kitchen. That's not going to give you some soul food. So, all right, let's move on. Where did we stop? All right. Most of us believe that we yearn for a particular circumstance and we dedicate our lives to that imaginary yearning. We believe we want to earn a certain amount of money. We believe we want to have our dream job. We believe we want to drive a certain car and wear certain clothes. We believe we want to live in our dream home, etc. But the truth is, the only reason we really want these things is because we believe it will make us feel better. We believe it will make us happy. So in all actuality, it's not these things that we are after. It's the emotion we desire. It's happiness that we truly desire. So once we fully understand that, and we understand that the emotion can be achieved by practicing the art of being happy, then it makes sense to achieve happiness through intentionality, doing the spiritual work daily. Then all that you desire will begin to flow into your life. This is why it is important to get happy first. Choose happiness. Don't look to go into the world and find happiness. Find happiness within you and then take the happiness out into the world. Very clear. Very clear. This is dope. This is dope. Like this is, and it's just a reminder. Sometimes we just get those much needed reminders. So what's so funny about all this stuff is I don't think that any of this is rocket science. All of this stuff is pretty obvious when we sit down and we're still, right? Be still. When we sit down and we're still, all of this stuff seems to just be very obvious. It seems to be, yeah, that just makes sense, right? Yeah, of course you want to be happy. Higher vibration, all these different things. But for whatever reason, we allow distractions, not for whatever reason, because the enemy works hard. The devil's always working hard. The distractions, anything distracting us from our happiness, anything distracting us from our purpose, our desires, our goals, anything that moves us off of that. Those are the distractions. Those are what you should call, or what I'm not gonna tell you what you should. Those are the things that I call the devil. Those things. Those are the things that I want to avoid at all costs. Because think about it. If we're not focusing on the happiness and we're allowing ourselves to be consumed by all of the other, let's say, more negative emotions, where does that ultimately lead to? Think about what I said earlier, how our world is very polarizing. It's not a very balanced world that we live in. We got two political parties, this extreme, this extreme. Everything that really makes noise seems to be extreme, right? That's what gets the attention. So therefore, understanding that if we don't go into the happiness direction, then a lot of times that may lead us into something very dark. And maybe this is one of the reasons why, we talk a lot about, or we don't talk a lot about, but in society talk a lot about the mental health stuff. Is it any surprise that if somebody was just dropped into our world, dropped into America specifically, or maybe wherever else, I think it would be very understanding as far as why people have mental health issues. I think it would be very Europe, where just being dropped off there, you'd be like, yo, what are y'all doing over here? Like, this is what you consume all day on TV? You're telling me that you consume, and we all do it, whether it's on TV, let me not pick on the boomers, whether it's TV or whether it's our phones, all right? The stuff that we consume all day, every day is either stuff that's gonna make us jealous of somebody else, right? Comparing our lives to, and that's an easy way to be depressed and anxious, comparing our lives to other people's image that they're portraying because with this perfect Instagram post that they put up, right? It's gonna have us jealous of people that a lot of times are our loved ones and our friends. It's gonna have us consuming all of this political stuff that makes us hate people just because they're aligned with a certain party and this is that. It's going to be something that creates these religious debates between these religious groups, that the people that are actually fighting and flaming the debates, those are the people that aren't even living by the religious principles that they supposedly are fighting for. The culture will have us seeking, hey, just thinking about sex and everything around that. Sex, drugs, depending on what culture you specifically are in. What's one of the dominant cultures that we always talk about? Hip hop culture, like all these different things that we consume all day long, and then we expect to have a productive, happy life. It's not very realistic. If those are the things that are programming us, if those are the things that turn into creating what we think or what we expect to happen in various areas of our lives, right? It's setting expectations. When you know, then you start to expect things. And based on the things that we know, based on the things that we accept in this toxic environment, if we just accept instead of pushing back with happiness and pushing back with us controlling the things that we consume and us controlling our thoughts, all of these things, what programs our subconscious, it's going to land us in a very dark place. So two more paragraphs about detachment, and then we'll move on. So detachment. We were all conditioned as children to believe that we need things outside of ourselves to be happy. And this caused us to become attached to these ideas and circumstances. Attachment lowers your vibrational frequency. Remember, when your vibrational frequency is low, you can only attract unto that which is low vibrational, which is more of the circumstances that you don't want. I recently came to the realization that I have never been happy in my life because I've always attached my happiness to things that I desired. As a child, I was poor. Naturally, I desired to be rich and decided I would obtain riches through athletics. I remember being a star player in high school and college, but not enjoying those moments because I was attached to the idea of going to the NFL. Since I was so attached to that idea, I was always unhappy because I had not obtained that. I remember people asking me why I looked so sad all the time, and I didn't even know I looked sad. I'm gonna read one more paragraph if that's okay. This thing is giving me goosebumps. I don't know if y'all can see. I don't know. This thing is giving me goosebumps. Yeah, let me read one more paragraph. Around 2016, I started to construct a 200-year plan for my family to establish wealth for generations to come. I recently noticed that the plan was giving me anxiety, and I didn't know it. I found myself worrying about all the infinite possibilities of what would happen if my descendants didn't follow my instructions and how it would ruin our family and my legacy. As you can imagine, it is quite daunting on the mental when you worry and stress over outcomes you don't have much control over. All right, so that NFL thing is real. Can you imagine? Can you imagine some people's goals? And like what a high school kid, imagine just a high school kid that, may play a little sports, isn't the star of their team. But, here you have Danye in high school, the star of his high school team, and he's not happy. Can you imagine that? That's a sickness. That is a sickness that a lot of us that I've suffered from as well. Can you imagine? You the star on your high school team, you the star on your college team, and you're not happy because of well, yeah, the goal's not finished. Like what, bro? Like, yo, if I could go back, I would enjoy a lot. I would enjoy a lot of playing football a lot more. And I would enjoy it. And I think that I would actually have had a better career in a lot of ways. Stress destroys things. Stress in a lot of ways ruined my basketball stuff, man. Yo, to be honest, this was supposed to be a Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders type of thing, playing a couple different sports to be real. But confidence in a lot of these different things, confidence and negative thoughts can really ruin and play a significant role in sports success. And also, obviously, that directly relates to life success. You know, imagine just not waking up feeling good about yourself, not feeling optimistic about whatever it is that we can accomplish in this world, even if it's a job that you hate. And they actually Danye and Jasmine discussed this in this book, where it's like, even if you have a job that you hate, focus on some of the aspects that you like. Focus on those things. And eventually maybe you switch to a different job if you hate it so much. But just being appreciative of everything that we have, I think lands us in a very good position. And what was the last thing that he focused on? Oh, yeah. And another thing that it's funny, I never even spoke to him about, which was, you know, I used to have all these thoughts like about generational wealth and all these other things. And then you speak to people that have generational wealth, you meet some of their family members, and you're like, I understand why very wealthy people who may have gone through, who maybe didn't grow up with wealth, and they go through everything, learn certain lessons of somebody that didn't grow up wealthy, but then they have kids, and their kids are very fortunate and spoiled in a lot of ways. And they wish that they could teach them the lessons that a lot of times can only be taught through certain experiences. Now, I'm not saying that I'm going to have my kids growing up like some bums or anything like that. But I think that, and I think this is where a lot of this stuff, like this is where the mental games can kind of play a role, where maybe it's not mental games, maybe it's just how alignment should work. The happier that we are, the more likely we are to achieve our goals. The happier we are, the more likely we are to put ourselves in a situation where we can have generational wealth. So it's just with a lot of these things, regardless of what the goal is, isn't that how it should be? Or should we reward the people that are the angriest? You know, yeah. So just some thoughts on that. I had no idea that we would spend that much time focusing on this particular topic, but yeah, it's wow. Oh shoot, hold up, Fancy. Now we on to something. Any chance you could narrate the book, Dak, and get it put on Audible, or even write your own book? Maya, what did we talk about last night? Tell Finn to get out of our combo. So I really like both of those ideas. So let me start putting some. All right, so this is, and I'm gonna share this with y'all. And I've had certain conversations. I know my dad listening. He's like, certain people that I've had conversations with, like, yo, don't put your ideas out there. Somebody could take them. Then it's like, whatever. So this is, let me hold off on one of those. But you know what? It's positive vibes, yo. You gotta vibrate high. So you can't be selfish with the high vibration. So this is actually what we're doing. So Finn, just so you brought it up, my mom, we created a YouTube channel for her. My mom is an all-star, like GOAT level when it comes to Montclair school systems. And what we're doing is we created a Mrs. Caldwell class because she used to tutor. She's been retired for a while. And afterwards, we were trying to figure out, like, hey, there's still an opportunity here for you. Like, it's almost like after it's not like sports where, you kind of aged out, you can't just get out there on the field and run around, even though I could give a series or two right now. Well, maybe a month of training, but neither here nor there. So what we're doing is we're reading books to kids in school, and we're pretty much creating an online classroom. And one of the things that we want to incorporate are different people reading books. And this is an idea that we've had for a while, where it's like, imagine having some of your favorite childhood stories, or maybe some of the books that you haven't read, maybe some of the books like Deliberate Creator, or some of these books, and they're being read to you by not necessarily just the author, but other people. We thought about having some former NFL players reading some books to young kids, right? Imagine your favorite NFL player, or one of your favorite NFL players. Imagine maybe one of your favorite high school players in town, or your favorite college player in town, reading a children's book to the school. So these are some of the things that we're doing. But where you took it specifically with this, that's something we may have to bring you on board with, because I think it would be dope to have different books like this. And I think David Goggins did it. The first David Goggins book that I listened to was an audio book, and it was him navigating it along with somebody else that was almost interviewing him during it. So long story short, absolutely. I love the ideas that you have, and yeah, look out for that book too. Look out for that book, because y'all, Finn, you may not even be aware of, my mom and I, we wrote a book. My mom and I, we already wrote a children's book, and we have a lot of the second book done, but I haven't done a good job promoting it. But we wrote a children's book. It's called That's Not Fair. And now we have a workbook to go along with that children's book. But stay tuned. Uluwehi in the building. I didn't even see my dog Uluwehi in the building. Shout out to Uluwehi. All right, yeah, man, we missed you, brother. We missed you. Been thinking about everybody, and I heard this. We push off happiness into the future, always waiting for that moment. Gratitude is the door that allows us to start learning the habit of happiness. And you know what's so wild about this? You ever realize how, I don't even know if what I'm getting ready to say is the truth, but I'm asking you if you realize it. Have you ever realized that when it comes from generation to generation, largely, and we may have spoken about this in other ways, but largely, let me just give real examples, not necessarily in my life, but something that y'all can relate to. So like a grandfather, like our grandparents, how do we regard them? Like the parents of the boomers. A lot of times we look at them, oh, those were the real men. They worked hard every day to put food on the table. They didn't complain. They didn't show any emotion. They just got up every day and worked hard, didn't make excuses, and they got the job done. Boom, right? Okay. What we also say about them is that, well, they weren't really emotional. They didn't really hug their kids, maybe tell the kids, I love you, those things. And then the next generation, like everything that you missed, or in a lot of ways, I'm not going to say everything, but certain things that you missed that the next generation missed from the previous generation, they play that out in their lives and maybe push that on to the next generation. So the next generation is then looking at it from a standpoint where maybe they seeked happiness a little bit more. You know what I mean? But maybe that next generation leaned into the happiness a bit too much and didn't lean into the other stuff and teach the man stuff, right? They wanted happiness so much, they were telling us, every kid gets to participate. You get a trophy just for participating. You get this. Oh yeah, we accept everybody. Oh yeah, we could have this person, this. And I was about to start naming some of the woke stuff, but that generation may be more accepting about what makes people happy. So then what we rarely have is the balance of the different generations. So maybe that's what we're seeking right now. We're seeking the purpose-driven things that maybe our grandparents and parents had, but we're also seeking some of the happiness that maybe has come up in, certain aspects of what our parents have and more in the later generations, the new age type of stuff. So we want to tap into our emotions. We want to be happy. We don't just want to be miserable, granddad who never spoke to anybody or whatever. You know what I mean? Like not to say that that's everybody's experience. It wasn't my experience, but just I'm not making it about me. But I think y'all understand what I'm saying. I think we just need a certain level of balance, and we've been missing understanding happiness because I don't even know why, but maybe it's because men don't feel like men when we focus on happiness. Maybe it's easier for men to just focus on, and maybe this is why the manosphere stuff and the red pill stuff goes viral. Maybe this is why an Andrew Tate goes viral. Maybe this is why, because we typically are we're polarizing. So when we lack, let's say when we're only happy and we're focusing on feelings and stuff, obviously a lot of those kids that just from focusing on that may not have the purpose, the discipline, the work ethic, all these things, now they're going to be drawn to somebody else that may be talking about the work ethic, maybe talking about the purpose, maybe just preying on them with the struggles that, hey, this generation, the women like you because they're calling you soft. They're calling you all these things. So now you get this other group of men in the manosphere. Yeah, we're this, we tell what. But it just becomes polarizing. It's the pendulum swing rather than the balance. So maybe the balance is us understanding and learning more about how happiness can be used to accomplish all of these goals that we have as men or women to fulfill the roles that are needed for us to play. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. That's how I'm looking at it. But shout out to Uluwehi in the building. My apologies if I'm missing so many of these comments. Finn said, I'm down for reading a book. Had loads of practice, bringing up 4 kids. Can't complain with an NFL player, though. But that's the thing. Like, it really allows. All right, so now we got something here. Now, who else is open to doing some of these book readings? Because I think it just allows. At the end of the day, what is this about? We're building a village here, right? We all have heard the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. Maybe what's missed there is it also takes that child coming back and participating in the next generation of the village, right? Because a lot of times it takes a village to raise a child. Then when that child leaves, then what happens with the village? We have to keep recycling that energy. So I think when it comes to us reading books, that's just an avenue that we can use to make sure that we're constantly giving back, right? And when we give back, what do we end up doing? I tell you what, when I watch a Disney movie, it reminds me of how I used to think. And it reminds me like, yo, I'm learning certain lessons. If you go back and you watch a Disney movie, I don't care whether it's Aladdin, whether it's Little Mermaid, whether it's The Lion King, whatever Disney movie, Pixar, Disney, whatever, Pixar, Disney, whatever. There's going to be certain lessons that hit a lot different as adults compared to when we were kids. So it's still that balancing effect. And it's like the greatest way to learn is to do what? To teach. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm kind of looking at. That's why I love the book, The Power of Now. Yeah, The Power of Now, that's a real one. The Power of Now. That's a real one, Mama Life. I genuinely love this community, the OG family. Big bro, I'm telling you, this is I'm so grateful for y'all. I'm so grateful for y'all. Living in the now with true intention sets up everything to maximize our potential. That is a fact. And momentum. Living in the now, it gives you that momentum. I'm not thinking about all the different things, how this may go wrong. I got this little win that I'm not even calling a little win. I got this win here, and then I'm going to use that momentum to snowball into bigger wins, bigger wins. We do it all the time when it comes to negative stuff. Why not do it from a positive perspective? All right, so it's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste so much of it. That we waste much. That's real. That's real. That's real. Love my books. Always carry one with me. All right, so if this group isn't an example of how energy attracts certain energy, then I don't know what else is. But let me move on to some of the topics of the day. All right. Damn. See, now it's all right. So we're going to address some of these things. And even though I was very strategic in pointing out some of these things that we're going to take a look at, let's get into it, because we also got to make sure that we're arming ourselves with reality, right? So we're going to take a look at some stuff, but I promise y'all, what we're going to do is finish off with hopefully something, not hopefully, finish off with something that's going to bring about and refresh this energy that hopefully all of us are feeling right now. So let's go through some of these topics. Let's not take them too seriously. Take them seriously, but let's, for a purpose, but let's not get overwhelmed when it comes to that. So let me share the screen on this first video. So do y'all remember Jesse Ventura? Wait, wasn't Jesse Ventura a wrestler? Somebody tell me in the chat, wasn't Jesse Ventura a wrestler? What was he? I think he was a wrestler. And the only reason why I'm thinking wrestler is because I started watching that Hulk Hogan documentary yesterday on Netflix. I only made it through like 20 minutes, but I'm going to finish it. But wasn't Jesse Ventura a wrestler? Well, I remember when he was running for governor. I remember when he was running for governor, but I do not remember this clip. So I wanted to share this clip with y'all. And of course, we'll have a conversation around it. All right, he was a wrestler. All right. So take a look at this and let me know your thoughts.
You have done on September the 12th, 2001. What would you have done if you'd been president?
What would I have done?
Yeah.
I would have done a legitimate investigation to find out what exactly happened on 9/11. How did they know who did this so quickly like they did Lee Harvey Oswald? How quick they knew Lee Harvey Oswald killed Kennedy.
Because the people who did it were identified and we knew who they were.
Well, then why couldn't we have stopped them beforehand if they were identified and we knew who they were?
It was a failure of intelligence. Everyone's accepted
No, it
that.
wasn't. We knew before with Condoleezza Rice's memo on August 6th when it stated right in the memo, bin Laden to steal planes and run them into buildings. And more stuff is coming out now also, how much the Bush administration ignored the intelligence. It was almost like they ignored it because they wanted it to happen.
Oh, come off it, Jesse.
No, not okay.
And the reason why I'm bringing up this is hopefully it'll let us know that, and I think Finn, matter of fact, I should bring up, I wasn't going to do this. So Big Bro Finn, you tell me if it's cool to bring up your post, because that's what I was thinking about as I was watching this, where all of this stuff is just theater. All of this stuff is just theater. It seems to be more and more. Like I see different things about the Butler shooting. You got a guy like Trump who talks nonstop when it comes to, let's say, the election of 2020, those type of things. And hold on, I'm sorry. Oh, no, I got you. Bubbles, it's all good. So the deliberate creator, I'll leave the link for you guys. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. I had it, the deliberate creator. Yeah, come on. This is important. All right, here we go. I'll leave the link in here for y'all. I'll leave the link because I want y'all to check that out. All right, so yeah, there's the link for that. I'll even leave it on the screen. But the reason why I showed this video of 9/11, because I was thinking about it, and it just reminded me of like, yo, what if all of this stuff is just like people just making stuff up, but then feeding it to us as if it's not? Like, are we just watching wrestling? It's funny that Jesse Ventura is somebody that says this. Are we just watching wrestling? I'm watching the Hulk Hogan documentary yesterday, and he's saying like, yo, that's just a persona. Like, that's not really me. Like, I just have to sell it to you. And the better I sell this to you, the more you believe in it, the more you believe in me, and the more you're now emotionally engaged into this thing. You have more of an investment in it. And this is the same thing that happens with what our government pushes out. So what I was saying about Trump, you have a guy like Trump who, he won't let you, he will always let you know that, hey, 2020 election, that wasn't, I won that. But you don't hear him talking about the people that tried to assassinate him. You didn't see him wanting to dig into what actually happened in those situations, at least to our knowledge. It seemed like you wanted to investigate when it came to, the stuff that was centered around the election, but not centered around somebody that's trying to assassinate me. So these type of things just make me think like, wait, is this stuff made up? Then you'll see certain things where we may play a video later on where I think it was Sky News, where they kind of were laughing at the situation, the shooting that happened at the White House Correspondent Dinner. They were kind of like, yeah, there was a shooting. And then, the press conference, it didn't stop the press conference. But it's like, are we just being like finessed with all this stuff? So this is another example because Jesse Ventura is 100% right. We were aware of these things. Now, a lot of people who don't, let's say, watch the documentary that I think Tucker Carlson just did, or people that are just not interested in doing research on 9/11, it's very clear that they were aware of these people that flew these planes into the world, into the buildings. It's very clear. They flew planes into these Twin Towers. Then they magically found the wallet. Everything else is burned to a crisp or whatever. And that's a whole nother story, But then they find the wallet or the passport or something like of the guy. And it's like, wait, what? Y'all were following these people well before you had intelligence tell you that they were going to fly planes into a building. Like you knew all this stuff. They trained in America. You were following them for a very long time. It's like, how did we not stop this? You hear certain stories about the dancing Israelis and all these other things. And it's like, is this conspiracy? Is this real? But then you're sitting back and you're just like, wait, is this just another instance that may be similar to what a lot of people are complaining about in Israel when it comes to October 7th? We're going to watch a video about that, how there's thousands of people that are calling for the removal of Netanyahu and that are calling for a deeper investigation into October 7th. Because it seems like with a lot of these things, they create something to then give reason or justification to do what they were already trying to do, but they may have had some pushback for it if that particular situation didn't occur. It's a pretense. That's what it is. So let's keep going with this video because I want us to the main goal of this is to convince us to not get caught up in a lot of this BS, to not get so emotionally engaged in this stuff and to look at it maybe like wrestling. I don't know about y'all, but if somebody wins or loses, let's say in a movie or on wrestling. Now, I know true wrestling fans may not agree with this, but I'm hurt a bit more when Kobe Bryant loses than when my favorite superhero loses in a movie because it's staged. You know what I mean? And some of y'all may say like, bro, you don't need to be hurt that Kobe losing. I get all that, but that's my guy. You feel me? So like, trust me. But for all the boxing fans, when Errol Spence lost like that set me back a little bit. But I don't recommend that either. Don't get all emotional when it comes to these sports. We took the fanaticism, right? All right, so let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. Let's watch the rest of this video.
Come off it. Wait a minute. No. Every war fought starts with a false flag operation.
You can't, in all seriousness, sit there and try and make out anybody.
Okay, let me ask you this, Piers. Wait a minute.
And see this, what we're watching right now is mainstream news. What Pierce is saying is what most of the mainstream news outlets will say. Jesse Ventura will be seen as one of these conspiracy theorists. He's not a serious person. Think about what Pierce just said to him. You can't be serious. I think he said that word for word. We'll go back and listen to what Pierce said. Think about what Pierce is saying. You're pretty much saying that you're insulting his intelligence in a lot of ways for even considering that what he's saying may be true. And then what happens years later? It comes out like, oh, okay. Then what happens on October 7th? You have IDF soldiers coming out saying like, hey, we were all told to stand down. Like we had so many of us were removed from even protecting the border. And you're wondering like, wait, what? But us in America, we're looking at it like, nah, that couldn't have happened. Like, come on now. Meanwhile, you got people in Israel who are pushing back against it, saying like, nah, we need more of an investigation into this. It's all about narrative, and we get it. Yeah, let's keep going.
Wait a minute. Every war fought starts with a false flag operation.
You can't, in all seriousness, sit there and try and make out anybody.
Okay, let me ask you this, Piers. Wait a minute. Let me ask you something.
Wait, what is?
Let me ask you this, Piers. Wait a minute. Let me
make out.
Did he just say it's a pretty ignorant thing to say?
Anybody.
Okay, let me ask you this, Piers. Wait a minute. Let me ask.
I think he said that it's a pretty ignorant thing to say.
You something. How much studying have you actually done of 9/11 other than what the government's told you and what mainstream media has told you? I've been studying it 4 years.
I was editor of a national newspaper.
I've talked to people.
Wait a minute. In depth every day for 5-6 months.
Really?
So I know a lot about it.
Well,
and
then
one thing I do know is,
let me ask you this then.
You cannot say that any member of the Bush administration knew it was going to happen or wanted it to happen. It's a ridiculous thing to say.
Ridiculous. Okay, let's talk about your BBC. I have a tape of a BBC.
If it is ridiculous, not saying, whatever you think about it is cool. But if that's ridiculous, isn't it also ridiculous that after that situation happens, we go into war with Saddam and we go back to Iraq? Even though that's not who, based on the intel that they have, they knew did it. Like, Osama bin Laden is not is not Saddam Hussein. Two completely different people. Matter of fact, weren't they fighting at one time? So you go and they just needed a reason to do the things that they already wanted to do. And Pierce is up here calling this man ignorant or saying what he's saying is ignorant. You can't be serious. And that's what's pushed out to the mainstream news outlets to then condition us. Think about how long we've been conditioned. Think about it, flip it. Think about if we would have been questioning things for a very long time, or at the very least, and I say questioning things, I'm not saying that you got to question things and start a podcast and start calling out this stuff. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that if we just question it from a standpoint of saying like, well, what if what they're telling us isn't true? So we don't allow ourselves to get as emotionally engaged in it and to act as if we know something, because Pierce is acting like he knows something and it's something that he can't prove, and that actually has been proven now to align more with what Jesse's saying.
Ridiculous. Okay, let's talk about your BBC. I have a tape of a BBC reporter broadcasting directly back to England talking about a third building has collapsed. World Trade Center Building 7 talks for 7 minutes. All the while she's talking, World Trade Center Building 7 is still standing right behind her. It didn't fall for another half hour. Yet they were doing a pre-broadcast back to England that, yes, it's true,
you need to
that
take
this
a break
building fell and it hadn't fallen yet.
I mean, what can you say? My fault, I had to close that. What can you say? So let's move on. Just something to convince us to detach from a little bit more. And I wanted to get into this combo after it came out maybe last week. I was trying to wait to get some more information on it with the SPLC. But we'll take a look at this video on CBS. And I think it's worth having a bit of a conversation before things actually play out. But let's take a look at this video.
40 years ago, the Southern Poverty Law Center bankrupted the Klan and later recovered millions from neo-Nazi groups, with lawsuits representing victims of violence. But Tuesday, the tables turned. The Justice Department charged the organization with fraud for allegedly misleading donors and lying to financial institutions by paying members of violent extremist groups millions of dollars to act as informants.
The SPLC was not dismantling these groups. It was instead manufacturing the extremism it purports to oppose by paying sources to stoke racial hatred.
Including the indictment alleges a leader of the 2017 Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, who, quote, attended the event at the direction of SPLC, made racist postings under the supervision of the SPLC, and helped coordinate transportation to the event for several attendees.
All right, hold up. All right, so I did a little bit light research on this, not anything significant. And by light research, y'all know who I talked to. I talked to my homie Chat. All right, I talked to my homie Chat, and then looked at a couple other things like on X, and yeah. I don't know what my takeaway is on this. It's somewhere between Trump and his admin are probably trying to go at them, the Southern Poverty Law Center. There may be something personal there, or just maybe something where it's like, hey, let's go at some of these groups that are fighting for these civil rights or whatever the Southern Poverty Law Center they stand on. And it's somewhere between that and maybe somewhere between, the SPLC. Did they do some of these things where all of the money that they received, it was directed in ways that probably a lot of the people that gave probably didn't know that they were giving it towards, certain people, these groups. Now, does the SPLC and a lot of groups, is it okay for them to pay informants if it allows them to get more information, that allows them to do their job and dismantle a lot of these racist organizations? I guess they could make that argument. But what I believe the administration is saying is that you have to let people know that. Because if you don't let people know that, then that's considered fraud or whatever else. It's kind of, when it comes to this, what's written right here, this is where it brings the most amount of speculation from me regarding the Southern Poverty Law Center, where it says that they attended the event at the direction of SPLC and made racist postings under the supervision of the SPLC and helped coordinate transportation to the event for several attendees. This is where it becomes real Black Lives Matter-ish for me. Y'all know I can't stand Black Lives Matter. I believe that they profited and took advantage of young, mostly Black men dying and acted as if they were doing it for a particular cause. And all they did was market and rally different riots, different whatever else, protest, and it was to benefit them in their pockets. It wasn't to actually solve any real issues, I don't think. Matter of fact, I think that they got excited and realized that, hey, the more young black men are killed by cops, we can actually make more money. And I think that them, like a lot of other people in professions, we call out a lot of the doctors, a lot of the people that we hold in high regards and say, well, if they recommended it to me, then it must be something that I need. I think them, like a lot of other professionals, will choose to do what's in the best interest of their finances compared to anything that has it's morally sound. So when it comes to this specifically, like you're paying people, you got people that are making these racist postings and stuff like that. I can see a bit of Bibi Netanyahu energy here, giving $200 million or however many he gave to Hamas, and then him acting as if, well, no, we were doing that to kind of, we thought that we can control certain aspects. And no, you were doing that with Hamas so that they would never be on board with Arafat, who was a more diplomatic guy. So therefore, when you got those two people fighting each other, then they're never able to realize that, hey, maybe there's a bigger enemy here. Maybe there's a bigger opposition here. So it gives me that kind of energy where it's like, okay, you need the KKK to be fully functioning for you to even have a job. It's like people that are, let's say, personal injury attorneys. If you're a personal injury attorney and you were given a crystal ball or a genie, and they says, hey, if somebody gave you the question, do you want to get rid of all car accidents? Do you want to get rid of all car accidents? There will never be another accident that happens and people will live. They won't have any injuries. They won't have any deaths from accidents. If a personal injury attorney is asked that question, what do you think that they're going to say? When they rely on car accidents to put food on their family's table, when they rely on car accidents to drive the nice car that they drive, to live in the nice house, same thing with doctors. Do you think that if you asked a surgeon or any type of doctor, hey, if we can rid the world of all diseases and injuries, would you be okay with that? Now, y'all may have a lot more faith, or I don't know. Maybe I'm scarred from being in the healthcare industry. Maybe I'm scarred. Matter of fact, I feel like this has already been proven, because aren't there like medicines like ivermectin? I'm seeing Big Bro Steve in the comment. There's been medicines that have been proven to get rid of a lot of these cancers, but they're prevented from coming out. Dr. Sebi, right? He proved that he cured some of this stuff. But they didn't say, oh, we got to bring you on board to these big pharmaceutical companies so you can teach us how we can cure the world. No. People are choosing to do what's in the best interest of their pockets. So when it comes to the SPLC, I don't hold them in a higher regard because they're supposed to be fighting for a greater cause. I do not hold them in that. Any different than anybody else that fulfills a certain position as their profession to put food on the table. So this is kind of the mindset that I have going into this, but we'll keep going. We'll keep going. We'll listen to the rest of the video.
But Law Center interim president Brian Fair said the group had long used informants and called the indictment a political attack by the Trump administration.
They have made no secret of who they want to protect and who they want to destroy.
You have to wonder.
And let me be clear. Maybe maybe just from a moral standpoint, y'all should figure out a way to not have to use these informants in order to solve a lot of these issues, especially if you're using the informants to add fuel to that fire, like that last thing that we froze on the screen seemed like it was doing. It seemed like, yeah, they're monitoring certain racist posts that people are putting up. I think that there's a gray area there, and sometimes it gets a little dark, sometimes it stays on the lighter side, but maybe the best way to do it is to say, hey, we're not working with any informants. Right? We got this. We don't negotiate with terrorists, right? Maybe we shouldn't work with any informants.
Attorney Scott Frederickson questioned the Justice Department's legal theories.
Can the federal government persuade a jury that the Southern Poverty Law Center was out there funding extremism for its own purposes, manufacturing racism? That's hard to believe. Obviously, they'll have their day in court.
But there have been calls to investigate the Law Center for years. In 1995, the Montgomery Advertiser was the finalist for the Pulitzer Prize for articles alleging that the center was misleading donors and wasting their money. And more recently, critics say that its hate watch list of extremists includes many mainstream conservatives. Tony?
Jan, thank you very much.
So it seems like a political play, like a bunch of other things, but maybe some of the plays that the Southern Poverty Law Center are making are considered more political plays. So we'll see how it plays out. We'll see how it plays out. I'm not going to formulate too much of an opinion on it right now, but we'll observe it, see what happens when it plays out. All right, so I wanted to show this post. I was looking for some positive stuff. Oh, I'm going to have to mute it. I'm going to have to mute it because y'all know copyright strikes. We can't take those risks. Let me mute this, and I want to play this video for y'all. So a lot of times we've talked a lot about human nature and trying to figure out, what it really is human nature. Is human nature, us competing with each other, us ending up warring because of the competition for each other, for resources, things of that nature. And for me, it always goes back to look at how the kids are, in a lot of ways, the kids may be our closest things to what pure human nature is. And I was getting ready to say a godly nature. In a lot of ways, maybe kids are our closest things to God in a lot of ways, because they're almost before the actual real world, or maybe this isn't the real world, before this physical world ruins them in a lot of ways, or shapes us, I should say. Not necessarily ruin us, but shapes us. So take a look at this right here. So this is a kid in a school. I don't even know where the school is. And this young boy, he has no arms. So look at what this young girl does at lunchtime. Wait, said no music. Come on. Don't get me on that. The music makes it a lot more emotional, but just picture a nice instrumental in the background. She's feeding that young man. Now look at all the other young girls. Yo, bro is the man. Like, you feel me? Good deeds. Like, people want to do good. People want to be around people that are doing good. At least young kids do, it seems like. Bro getting all the love. And it does help he's handsome, right? It does help that he's a handsome young man, but he's like, yo, let me get some more of that. Like, yo, let me get some more of that. Oh, man. I really do, man. Big bro Steve, you want, like, I really feel that children are the closest things to God, man. They really are. Children see magic because they look for it. I love it, man. I love it. Y'all are, as always, y'all are on it. All right, so let's move on. We're balancing. This is all a balancing act. I hope y'all can see it. So I wanted to highlight this because I was very happy to see this. And I don't know if happy is the right word, but more so inspired. And I don't even know if inspire is the right word. Let's just look at the video. I don't know what's the right word, but a lot of times we've been calling out. What do we call out? What do we always say? The good cops got to police the quote unquote bad cops, right? The quote unquote good cops. If you're a good cop, then you got to police the bad cops. And hold on, there can be no keener revelation of a society's soul than the way in which it treats its children. Nelson Mandela. I like that. I like that, big bro. All right, so take a look at this video. This is at Rutgers, Jersey, Big Jers. Y'all know, I'm not even surprised that a Jersey, I wanted to say Jersey Jew, but I feel like, see, sometimes when you say Jew, it can come across a little like Jew, like, but this is what a Jersey Jew would stand up on. So I was proud of this. You feel me? I was proud of this. Let me take a look at this. So this is at an event where there's actually an IDF soldier. This young man stood up.
The IDF has killed over 70,000 Palestinians. The IDF has killed over 300 journalists. The IDF has targeted children. The IDF has killed over 1,700 healthcare workers. The IDF has targeted children. Hydra Job, 6-year-old, was shot 335 times. 335 times. When my grandmother, my Jewish grandmother, told me about the Holocaust, she told me never again. This is not never again. Never again means never again for everybody.
When my Jewish, I got the goosebumps are coming. Y'all heard what little bro said? When my Jewish grandmother said never again, this is not what she meant. Never again meant never again for everybody. I like when people, we have to live in a world where people are willing to call out whoever they deem as their people. And the reason why I say whoever they deem as, because y'all know, I've told y'all before, my people is not black people with locks or black people in America. My people are who I align with from a principle, moral value standpoint. However, I do understand that my people, even in other areas where it's like, if I have the opportunity, my people is whoever I have a voice for. I think when people have a connection to a certain group and have the ability to speak out on certain things that may need some adjustment, then I commend people for doing so. I think it is an obligation. I think it's a duty. I think it's a responsibility, especially when you see what's going on, where there may be, like, let's say if there Black people in some regards are looked at as a protected class, and everybody's we're walking on eggshells talking about Black people. So Black people now, because we have this entitlement and victimhood, now we feel like we can mistreat other people just based on the mistreatment that we've had. I think that it's an obligation and responsibility for me to say, like, nah, yo, we're not doing that. Like, we're not doing that. Just because that was done, no, we're not doing that. I think that that's a responsibility. Just my standpoint. So that's why I'm telling y'all I like Lil Bro. And I like what he's standing on.
135 times. When my grandmother, my Jewish grandmother, told me about the Holocaust, she told me never again. This is not never again. Never again means never again for everybody. And if justice is real, then the IDF will go down. You guys will be prosecuted at the Hague. You guys will go down. Justice will prevail. IDF.
And I'm gonna show y'all one more video, because I think it's important to show this next video, because we understand what certain situations like this can do. We understand that when a lot of us are looking at, I understand how a lot of these situations can make me look at Jewish people funny, if I'm being real. These situations that are going on with Bibi Netanyahu, when we have influential people that are doing things on behalf, or they say they're doing things on behalf of a particular group, it's easy for us to look at that group and hold them accountable to a lot of the negative things that we associate with that person that's doing it. Now, I 100% hold people accountable if you remain silent and you don't speak out. You're in the best position to speak out against this atrocity, this genocide that's happening. So therefore, if you decide not to do it, that's a problem that I have with you. That's just how I look at things. That's just how I look at things. If my brother's doing something foul and I'm just sitting back, just letting him do it, and I know it's foul, and I know that my brother listens to me or has a greater chance of listening to me than listening to anybody else, I think that that's corny and cowardly if I don't say, like, yo, we're not doing that. We're doing this. Like, yo, you like, what's up with this? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just think that that's how this whole thing has to work, this system of checks and balance in a way that can be meaningful and not just create wars and division. Because if I don't do it, then who's going to do it? Somebody that may not like my brother may do it. Somebody that may not, you know what I mean? And then you get other people that align with people that don't. Then you have a back and forth when you could have just prevented that issue yourself and called it out if you think that it's wrong. Now, we've called this out with a lot of Jewish folk, and apparently there's been a lot of Jewish folk in Israel that have been stepping up to the plate. So I think it's important for us to acknowledge that. So let me share this very quickly. And we need more. And what's funny about it, I think we actually need more Jewish Americans standing up behind it. But that's just my thoughts on it. But I'm happy that this is occurring and that certain evil is being called out. I really am. All right, let me make sure this doesn't have any. I don't think there's any music with this one. All right, so let me share this with you guys. And it says, I don't know if this is true. And I actually asked ChatGPT, or I asked Grok, and it says that similar protests with thousands to tens of thousands of demonstrators have occurred there recently, including April 18th and April 25th. So they're not sure if the exact 58,000 number that this clip highlights is confirmed, but it's typically described as thousands and or tens of thousands. So, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. And just a reminder of what they're protesting. 58,000 of protesters on the street. We demand immediate resignation of Netanyahu and a new investigation into October 7th attacks. That man doesn't deserve to be the prime minister. So that's what we're seeing in that video. So people holding people accountable. That's a good thing. That is a good thing. All right. So now we're going to move on. I think that's all there was one other story that I'm going to. All right. Let's finish it off with this one. Let's finish it off with this one, this Sky News. And then we're going to move on to what I said we were moving on to. All right. And this is what happens when, because I want to make sure that I'm not laughing at, if this was an assassination attempt or anything like that. I want to make sure that that's not what I'm doing. But things have gotten so damn out of control where it's like, we don't believe y'all. We don't believe y'all. The people that are trying to convince us of certain things, and it's not only the politicians, it's the mainstream news outlets as well. We don't believe y'all. Like y'all are playing right in front of our faces, seems like. So take a look at this video. This is what Sky News had to say regarding the situation at the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Sorry, James. I was just saying that's quite a remarkable thing. There's mayhem, but the Trump White House machine didn't pause, hardly drew breath before organizing the press conference.
Yeah, fascinating, isn't it? Donald Trump. But, we've seen that before.
All right, so just a little clip. And I really just played that clip because people are not believing certain things that are happening. And when people don't believe certain things, maybe there's an opportunity. It's a good thing, I think, for us to step back and say, whatever that's being fed to me, I don't just automatically believe. But then I think it's also important for somebody to, I don't know if it's for somebody to fill that void, but for us maybe to take a step back and fill that void ourselves and just say, like, look, I'm not buying into all this stuff. I'm not believing this stuff. Let me not go to the next YouTube video or the next X post and somebody can explain to me, and then you get the polarizing opposite, and then you're attacked. It just causing a bunch of commotion and whatnot, even in your own mind. Maybe the answer is to say, you know what? I don't believe any of this. Let me pick up a book. Maybe that's the real thing. And I saw, let me show y'all what Finn posted. I had it on deck, big bro. This is what Finn put up. He said, if your poll numbers are the toilet, creator said, and this is just based on, look, you did it to yourself in a lot of ways. And the reason why I say you did it to yourself, Don, is because after the Butler shooting and the other one at the golf course, we didn't get any information on it. And then all these new camera angles where you got the camera people, looking like they're running a football play, all moving in coordination with each other to get the look. And at first we thought it was the coolest pick ever that a president ever had. But then when you actually see the video footage behind the scene, it's like, yo, is this all just staged? Like, wait. Fight. You know what I mean? It's like, hold up. Now it's taken away from what we actually looked at and held. We held that photo in high regards. But now with all this new stuff coming out, it's kind of like, so a lot of people have been saying, and I didn't want to show y'all all the clips, but they're saying that after the Correspondents' Dinner, Trump used that as an opportunity to say why they need this new bulletproof ballroom. And then there were a lot of people posting saying, like, it seems like all the people that are on Trump's side, the MAGA folk, it's like they're in the same group message, which I'm sure they really are in. But and I saw Maya's post. Maya said Trump is a reality star at heart. Yeah, we got to remind ourselves of that. But damn, I lost my train of thought. But they were saying that there's these they're all putting out the same messaging, using this as an opportunity to say, well, this is why we need the ballroom, because apparently they were getting some pushback on the ballroom. So we just, who knows, man? Who knows? So Yeah, we'll finish off there. And then what I do want to do for our meditation is to review a bit of maybe just about 10 minutes of Napoleon Hill. And I want to review this because I don't. Hold on. Let me make sure that I want to make sure that we don't get a copyright strike from this. This is inspired by Hill's. Like, this video is for those who want. I just want to make sure. Hold on. Okay, all right. So the disclaimer. Maybe y'all can help me look at this. This is what I'm looking at. I'm trying to make sure that I can. We've played these videos before, but I just want to make sure. And I believe that I spoke to this. I'm not sure if it's this group, but I spoke to one of them and they said that we could review the videos. So it says that this channel has no affiliation with Napoleon Hill or his estate. All content is independently produced, inspired by his teachings, and created exclusively for educational and motivational purposes. The voice used is an AI-generated synthesis and does not belong to Napoleon Hill. Our intention is to respectfully share and preserve his timeless wisdom, never to mislead or imitate. Well, if they doing that, I feel like it's okay for us to review a bit of it. It is what it is. What are they going to do? They're going to put a strike on the channel and then we got to start all over and get 52,000 followers. It doesn't matter. As long as we got the 20 strong in this chat, does it really matter? All right, let's take a look at it. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. Let's take a listen. We're only going, maybe we'll listen to just a few minutes of it. And I'll make sure that I chime in from time to time just to break it up. All right, let's get to it.
What you are about to hear is not casual advice. It is a shift in how you walk, speak, think, act, a shift in how you interpret your circumstances and command your future. Let me tell you something that most men never grasp until it's too late. Your life bends to your assumptions. The way you expect things to go is the way they usually go, not because of fate, but because of focus. Because your dominant thoughts pull circumstances into alignment.
Is this not what we talked about before? This is what Mama Lay always reminds me. This is what Mama Lay always reminds me. What you focus on grows. This is what we always talk about. So just something to keep in mind. Just something to keep in mind.
They shape how you act, how you speak, how you persist or retreat. So what if you assumed right now that everything is working out for you, even when it's hard, even when it's silent, even when there's no proof? What if you lived like the outcome was certain?
I was on mute. All right, I appreciate it. I put it on mute to move my chair to oh my God. All right, we're not gonna waste any more time. I was on mute. But what I was saying as I was, oh my God, damn. Damn. All right. It is what it is. So what I was saying about Napoleon Hill, maybe this is going to be our meditation that we'll finish off the rest of the show. Originally it was going to be 15 minutes, but I just took 2 minutes on mute to waste all that. But maybe if you're in a safe space, maybe close your eyes during this, because I want y'all to really process what Napoleon Hill is saying. Really process and take in what Napoleon Hill is saying, because all of these books, they all talk about the same thing. And here you have a guy, Napoleon Hill, who studied and researched. His life was dedicated to studying super successful people. Thomas Edison, Henry Ford. I think it was Edison. Definitely Henry Ford, Andrew Carnegie. He studied these elite folk. And I don't even know whether you want to even call it elite, but regardless of the name elite or not, he studied people that were very high functional. And these high functional people, this is what he's learning almost from a spiritual standpoint, the component that led to them having a whole bunch of success. This is what he was studying. So I just want us to take heed to it as much as possible, because if there is an opportunity to figure out how we can become more deliberate creators. I mean, think about it. These are the things that we would be asking God. I don't know about y'all. When I'm sitting down having these conversations, and I'm having them with God, but even think about if God was here, and God is here in the physical, but let's say that if God was here in a person form, which he is, and was sitting down right next to you having a coffee, what are the things that you would ask? How did you create this? Like what's the secret to create? Like, these are the conversations that bring about all those thoughts. So this is why I like to really engage in these type of conversations, and really make sure that we're processing them on a high frequency level, giving them our undivided attention. Chris said I should check out Alan Watts. Consider it done. Let me write that down. Alan Watts. Let me not write it down on that. Alan Watts. Hold on. All right. Got it written down. All right. No more mute. No more mute. All right. I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to talk to y'all while I'm doing it, but I'm going to try to close my eyes and really let this good word sink in.
Like the door was already open, and all you had to do was walk through it. That is not wishful thinking. That is mental engineering. And it is how the greatest minds in history rose through failure, criticism, and fear. Henry Ford didn't hope things would work out. He decided they would.
Henry Ford didn't hope things would work out. He decided they would. How many people have certain goals that they're looking to attain in their lives right now, that they spend a lot of time with the resistance thinking, right? The resistance thinking, or you can have the positive thought that, hey, this is the goal, this is how it's going to work out. But as soon as we say that, what tends to creep up somewhere, somehow? It's a lot of the, well, what if this happened? What if that, what if it go? All the things that can prevent it from actually going as we want it to go. What if we just made the decision to not even entertain any of those thoughts that come into our mind? What if we just make the decision that, hey, this is going to happen because I said it's going to happen. I'm committed to it happening. Now I know it's going to happen, so I'm expecting it to happen. With the understanding that regardless of what challenge comes our way, it doesn't matter. It's still going to happen, because I have supreme confidence in myself to overcome whatever obstacle may stand in my way of me being where I am now to getting to where I want to ultimately get to.
He poured his belief into the unknown before the world believed it was even possible. When everyone said the automobile was a fantasy, he built factories. Thomas Edison didn't doubt after his first 100th or 10,000th failed prototype, because he assumed success was inevitable. He didn't need to see it. He carried it in his mind, and he acted as if it was already his. Charles Schwab didn't operate from fear. He operated from faith in his vision, a faith so strong that entire steel empires were shaped by it. His certainty was contagious. His belief made other men follow. And Andrew Carnegie, the man who transformed industry and wealth in America, he did not ask, what if this doesn't work? He moved as if the results were already secured. That is the energy that builds legacies. So why not you? Why not now? Why not today?
Why not you? Why not now? Why not today? So this reminds me of yesterday. I'm riding my bike along the water. And this is what I love about Miami. It's just beautiful. Like you just really, it's hard. You see every aspect of God's work in some ways. Now it's flat, so you don't really get the mountains and all that stuff. So yeah, but when I say you see every aspect of God's work, I'm not just, well, it depends on how you look at what nature is. You can go into a lot of other places where it's nature. You're not going to see a lot of buildings, skyscrapers, the sky. You know, you get the skyline when it comes to Miami. You can go to a bunch of other places. But in Miami, the reason why I say you see all of God's creations because you see the nature and then you also see what people imagined and then built. When I just referenced Star Island, I had no idea that Star Island was man-made. That was somebody's idea. Somebody had the idea to create Star Island, and now look what it's turned into. Think about a skyscraper. Somebody had an idea. Now, do we just think that everything went smoothly for them? And they, you know what, it was just easy. You know, hey, I just was born with a lot of money. And then said, you know what, let me build a skyscraper. And everything was built, the construction, everything was seamless. Everything worked out perfectly. No, people just had an imagination and they decided early on, because that's when I think successful people make decisions. The hardest thing for successful people that have successful habits, the hardest thing for them, I believe, just in my opinion, is figuring out the decision. Once they make the decision, everything else is just work. That's the hardest thing. Am I going to build this skyscraper here, or maybe am I going to build it here? Those are the decisions, the hardest things. I'm building this regardless. And once I set my mind to it, once I make the decision, everything else is just work. Hard, easy, doesn't matter. It's just work. It's going to happen. This is how I look at what all of these things that we see, these magnificent things that are built. These are people that just had, one, a great imagination, and two, everything in them to make sure that they bring it to fruition. They knew it. They expected it, because those are the type of mindsets that you have to have in order to be great at anything, whether it's sports or whether it's doing something that maybe nobody has ever done before. What gives you the courage to go out and do that? It's not faith. It's not hope. It's not thinking. In my opinion, it's knowing this is going to happen because I decided it's going to happen. Now watch.
You've spent enough time worrying, enough time hesitating, enough time telling yourself stories rooted in fear. Now, it's time to flip the script, because the version of you that hesitates, that overthinks, that shrinks when life gets loud, he cannot coexist with the version of you that walks in certainty. You cannot serve two minds. One must die.
You cannot serve two minds. You cannot serve two masters. You can't, the hesitant person, it's almost just like if it was two completely different people. Now, I know we've heard that opposites attract. That may be the case in certain ways. But when two people are building, when two people are building and let's just put it to what the example that he used. In your mind, half of your mind is focusing on, oh, this is going to happen, we're going to be successful. The other half is focusing on just the fear, the anxiety, the what ifs, all the resistance language. Don't we think that we'd be more successful or have a greater opportunity to be successful if all that effort and energy that we're spending on all the negative thoughts and what ifs and all those things was simply given to the other side of, oh, nah, this is going to happen. There's no doubt. There's no hesitation. Like I said, it's just once the decision is made, everything goes back to that book, The Power of Now. Once the decision is made, I'm too busy thinking about the now to think about any what ifs that may occur. If I'm always focusing on the now, then I'm locked in on the now. So I don't have to worry about what happened in the past or what's going to happen in the future. I already told y'all what's going to happen in the future. I'm going to build this particular project that I'm working on. That's what's going to happen in the future. So therefore, I'm just focusing on the now because that's the best chance that I have in order for that to come to fruition. I have the best chance of focusing on now 100%. There it goes.
So today I hand you a new frame, a new filter, a new standard. Act as if everything always works out, not because it's guaranteed, but because it makes you unstoppable. Because when you assume that success is inevitable, you move with courage, you speak with authority, you command your life instead of negotiating with it.
You let your nuts hang, man. And I hate to say it like that, and apologies if that's inappropriate, but I think everybody can understand what I mean. You know the feeling when you walk into a room confident compared to when you're kind of hesitating. You know the feeling, you know the difference when you study for a test and you walking into that class, you did all the work, you did all the proper preparation. You made the decision early on, I'm going to get an A on this. And you did all the work to bring that to fruition. You're walking in with a different energy than if you didn't prepare and if you didn't study. Trust me, I've been there. Let's keep it moving.
This video is your reset, your new operating system. And it is to be repeated, not once, not twice, daily, until your subconscious accepts this certainty as law, until doubt withers in the presence of your calm. Because fear cannot live where faith is present. And the moment you live in alignment with the assumption that the outcome is secured, you destroy fear.
Fear cannot live. Wait, hold on. Let me run that back again. Make sure I'm saying it the right way.
Until doubt withers in the presence of your calm. Because fear cannot live where faith is present. And the moment you live in alignment with the assumption that the outcome is secured, you destroy fear.
Fear can't live where faith is present. So if fear can't live in the presence of faith, then you know fear can't live in the presence of knowing. Because knowing, as we discussed earlier, is even stronger than faith. So I'm gonna leave it there. Yeah, man. Let's do a couple breaths. If you guys are okay with that, we'll go through just a couple deep breaths. We're not gonna go through the breathing. Matter of fact, we will go through the breathing. All right. So let's go through. We'll go through 4 cycles. We'll do our box breathing technique. 4-second inhale, focusing on the positive things intentionally, maybe focusing on happiness. You decide for you. And then we're going to do a 4-second hold and then a 4-second exhale, which you're deciding whatever it is that you need to release in your life. All right. So that way we can constantly recirculating, because that exhale almost has 2 different functions, right? It has 2 different functions, where one of the functions is getting rid, it's the trash, right? But the other function may be recycling. And when I mean recycling, which means we want to put that back out to we want to put it to the universe and have that come back. So once we can get rid of all the trash in our minds, then every exhale that we have is going to be more focusing on distribution, all right? As a radio signal, sending out that signal to attract something back, which is what all these books have been talking about. So let's get through it. If you want, close your eyes. You do what you feel is best for you. We're going to go through 4 different cycles. So we'll begin with an inhale now. Hold. Release. Inhale. Hold. Release. Inhale. Hold. Release. Get ready for that last cycle. All right, inhale. All that positive energy. Hold it. Hold it. Then we're getting ready to send out the good vibes, send out the vibrations on a high frequency. Let it out. All right, y'all know what we come here to do, elevate on purpose, both from an intentional standpoint as well as raising our standards to become the best leaders we can become. And shout out to my brother Queez. Queez, we gave you the shout out. It was your birthday, but I just wanted to make sure that we gave you some more birthday energy while you're here. So I see Queez just left the fire emoji. So Queez's birthday passed. It was on Friday. So we definitely want to show Queez some happy birthday love. So definitely, that's if y'all know me, then you know how much I love and appreciate Queez and value him as an amazing brother in my life and a role model. Queez is setting the tone on fatherhood, on manhood, and all those other aspects. So Queez said, "Think and grow rich," man. They sent the fire emoji. So I had to just stop. I had to stop mid outro to do that. So y'all make sure y'all send Queez some positive energy and let this be an amazing year for you, Queez. Let this continue to be another amazing year where you're sending out a certain energy that's going to come back as all the desires and goals that you're not hoping for, but that you're knowing are going to come to fruition. So definitely got to show you some love. So that's what we're here to do, man. Y'all know what we're here to do. Play whatever role we need to play in order to add some positivity to whoever it is that we come into contact with in this life. So, and to have happiness, yo, that's the happiness. That's the focus right now for me, happiness. That's the things that I'm leaning into. So strength and honor, onward and upward, high vibrations. That's what we're focusing on. We always talk about what our personal legend is going to be and how that consists of all the things that we focus on a daily basis and are committed to consistently. We call that our personal legend, as we're striving to live in our purposeful abundance. Man, mine has never centered around happiness more than now. So when I say get to the bag, that's all the things that we're focusing on in order to live a life and accomplish the things that we set out to accomplish. So peace, love, happiness, health, wealth, and in everything we do, integrity. Got to have that balance of perspective. But let me reemphasize happiness, man. Find your happiness, man. Find your happiness within so that way you can contribute to your loved ones and overall to society in a better way. That's the goal. So that's the goal that I'm leaning into. So let's get some wise words and then we'll get up out of here. This is the real secret to life, to be completely engaged with what you are doing in the here and now. That's Alan Watts. So now I get why you wanted me to check out Alan Watts, Chris. So definitely the only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance. Alan Watts, I like that. We must engage in the now with good intentions that promote our ability to be the change we wish to see in the world. Get your house in order, then be a positive force in your community. Shout out to Big Bro Steve. I love that. I love that. We got to incorporate that. You are the master of your destiny. You can influence, direct, and control your own environment. You can make your life what you want it to be. The Honorable Napoleon Hill. It's all there. It's all there. So we got a bunch of birthday wishes to Queez. Definitely well-deserved. And y'all have an amazing day. And I'll see y'all sometime on Wednesday. Maybe I'll see y'all before that. But definitely on Wednesday. All right. So with that, I'll let y'all go. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be positive, be optimistic, and create. Embrace the fact that we can create. All right. I want to be around creators. So create something dope. So when I come see y'all and visit y'all, like we building off of that dope energy. All right. On that note, I shall see y'all soon.